people, and welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast. Hostess if Tev starts, Scott Wright stays, and David Martindale makes his second trip to Govan in a week. Yes, it's Friday night, it's the Rangers Rabble 4-in. Don't forget to get your calls in, 01416287237. You see the banner go across the bottom of the screen when the phone lines are open. We do want your calls, that's what we're here on this Friday night. Gentlemen, I am joined by Brian, Mark and Lewis. How are we getting on?
Aye, not bad, mate. Not bad.
All good in the hood, mate.
I was about to say, all good here. Looking forward to this one.
Listen, before we start, me and Lewis did not corroborate our outfits before we came on to this.
Stop lying, now we did. We spoke about it before we came on.
Listen, you look lovely, Lewis. You look absolutely stunning.
Likewise.
So listen, this is the Rangers Rabble podcast. It's not Kerrang Radio. So you might have thought it was when we came on. What's with the music change? You'll have to ask the gaffer. But listen, a change is as good as a rest, Paul. It's a lovely thing. Listen, we're on the eve of a game. If you want to talk about Servette midweek, then you can. Obviously, you set agenda by calling in, but I'm wanting to maybe park that for a minute if we can. Mark, I'll come to you. The manager spoke today. A bit of a strange presser. I don't know if you saw it. He was a bit more withdrawn than usual. Wasn't giving too much away. What did you think?
Yeah, I caught a wee bit. It seemed a little bit more reserved. Yeah. Still gave a bit away. I mean, I'm not telling anybody who's playing, and then obviously said Cifuentes is playing. So I don't think he can help himself. I think he's obviously been like, I play my cards close to my chest, under a wee bit of pressure and that. Let's play the game a wee bit. Then all of a sudden we're like, Cifuentes, we love him. He's playing. He's awesome. So I don't know. As I said, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Sometimes you get too much, and I think he was trying to rein it in a wee bit and couldn't quite help himself with slipping out a couple of things that probably should have played close to his chest. So, as I said, these things are. I tell you what, it's a lot better than watching Gio. Gio, literally, anytime Gio was on, I started 5 minutes in, 3 minutes in, started looking at my phone and didn't really pay attention to what anything he was saying because it was probably I just replayed the previous one, previous presser beforehand. So, as I said, it is what it was.
Brian, when you're finished with Tinder, I'll come to you. What did you think? There was a comment he made about the fans had sort of got a bit fed up with the players for last year, and we can really start backing these new players. Do you think that was maybe a wee kind of put up and shop kind of jive for the manager?
I think it was I was speaking to Wolf about it this morning. I mean, it was almost like I wouldn't say a dig, but he spoke. I don't know how many times about sort of needing time. Give them patience. He used the word patience. I don't know how many times this morning in his press conference. So he's obviously realizing that they've made big changes. The front line there's nobody from last year on the front line apart from Roof, but he wasn't even on the front line last year at all. So he's obviously got in mind what he wants to do, and he's obviously excited by who's there. But he appreciates that we've basically cobbled these guys together this summer, and it's not going to happen overnight. And he's desperate for everybody to just, take a step back and give them all a bit of time. Problem is, you don't get time at Rangers, and it's so difficult to cut them any slack, because when you sign guys like Danilo for 6 million, Dessers for 4.5, whatever it was, you're expecting instant success with these guys, because that for us that's big money, or Scottish football that's big money. So when the players see sort of money spent like that, they're expecting instant sort of results. So yes, we need to have patience, but at the same time, when you're chucking money like that around, it's kind of difficult to sort of have patience when you're spending money like that, because let's be honest, if you're spending 4.5, 6 million on strikers, you're expecting them to have hitting the ground running. I mean, Danilo was scoring goals for Feyenoord in pre-season. I think Dessers admitted, I think Wolf said this morning that 70 minutes for him, he was burst, he was gone. So he's struggling to get up for pace, but patience is not a thing with Rangers fans, and I think we've just got to kind of suck this up, this sort of period of time until the team settles, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. The phone lines are open, as you can see, 01416287237. We want your calls, we want your opinions. Don't leave them in the chat. Pick up the phone, come and speak to these guys. That's what they're here for. Lewis, it must feel like your birthday, the eve of your birthday. Jose Cifuentes starts tomorrow, a man you've been waxing lyrical about for about 6 weeks. Do you think that it's just all eyes on him tomorrow, or do you think maybe Danilo has got to step up to the plate as well? Could Cyril Dessers maybe get a wee rest?
Well, I think there'll obviously be quite a lot of intrigue, given that it'll be Cifuentes' first start. But I think there's still some worries around the team in general. That I think that the eyes will be on the full team, because we still need a proper convincing performance. There were signs in the Servette game that were very positive, so it's just about building on them. And like you said about Dessers, I think so. I think it's time to give him a rest, because I said it the last time I was on. I think Michael Beale's given him a bit of a poor catalyst to his Rangers career, because people are starting to get a bit of an image of him that might not be fair. He's very obviously not fully fit, nowhere near it. And I think a fully fit version of him will score plenty of goals in this level of football. I think there were signs at Servette game that he was getting into the right positions, but he just lacked that final edge to get the goal. He was taking the right type of shots, but there wasn't a lot of power behind that. His hold-up play and his passing was poor, and I don't think we would have spent $4.5 million if that was the case of him as a player overall. So I think it's time to give him a wee bit of rest, let him rejuvenate a wee bit, because we've got plenty in there to back him up. So I think so. I think it's time to give Dessers a wee rest.
I'm just annoyed that Lundstrom's not starting.
Don't even start, man. Please don't start.
Wait him this early into the show, Brian. Let him settle in. Give him 20 minutes.
Hey, you might start, Brian.
Well, Mark, I'm going to come to you on that, actually, because the manager alluded to some of the guys picking up wee knocks here and there. Can Ryan Jack play 2 games on the bounce? Obviously, you're a big advocate of Ryan Jack, but if you take your Ryan Jack hat off for a wee minute, you just think about this sort of in a logical manner. We've got Tuesday night as well coming up. How do you see that midfield shaping up tomorrow?
For me, there's 3 players if fit are in that midfield, and it's the 3 I said the Friday before. It was a Friday before the Kelly game. 3 in the midfield will be Raskin, Cifuentes on one side, and Cantwell on the other side. Stonewall, if they're fit, they must play, as far as I'm concerned. Ryan Jack, I think you're 100% right. I don't think he plays 2 games in a row. I think that you keep him for kid gloves, get him wrapped in cotton wool, and I think he will probably start in Europe. But for me, that's obviously depends on how that midfield 3 do. But for me, Cifuentes, Raskin, and Cantwell are your midfield 3 every day of the week, twice on a Sunday.
And obviously, Lou's saying there that Dessers would maybe sort of rest him, put him on the bench, whatever you want to call it. Who plays ahead? You'd keep him. You'd play him again.
100%. I think that he's no match sharp, and the only way he's going to get match sharp is by playing games. And let's face it, he's the only striker that scored a goal for us yet. So why would you put him on the bench after him scoring his first Rangers goal? I think he'll get a big lift from that and confidence. And obviously he's had another game under his belt, so I'm looking for him to progress, same as the rest of the team. But I think you need to play him. I think you need to play him to get him match sharp. I do see Lewis's point. Maybe give him a rest, but for me, you're paying top dollar for Dessers and Danilo. You need to play the 2 of them. Simple as that.
So you've got Dessers, Danilo, and Lammers.
Yep.
Okay, excellent, Brian. I'll come to you with this. Obviously, a different test tomorrow. Servette played a rigid 4-4-2, and there was that space for Borna in particular to break forward. Do you see us having a bit of a tougher time against Davy Martindale's Livingston?
As we said earlier on the Rabble Daily, if we don't score early doors, it could be a long afternoon, because we know what Livingston are all about. 4-5-1. They'll look to either hit in the break, pretty much like Kilmarnock, sort of set piece, free kick, corners. It's good. If we don't score early within, I would say, the first 20, it could be a long afternoon. It could be a frustrating afternoon. I certainly hope it. If we scored early, in the sense, it at least means Livingston are going to have to come out and actually try and score. Because I firmly believe Livingston are just going to come out and try and nick something. As I say, with a set piece, very much like Livingston. I said it at Kilmarnock last week, standing in the crowd. I says they're just waiting for a set piece, and look what happened. And Livingston won't be any different. We know what Livingston are all about. They're compact, they're well drilled, and it'll be a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1. Call it what you like. And as I say, if we don't get that first breakthrough within the first 20, it could be a very long afternoon and quite a frustrating one.
Well, I remember under Van Bronckhorst, Martindale brought Livingston to Ibrox, and they were almost 1-0 winners that day. I think it was at Lundstrom equalised late on for a 1-1. And Martindale had said that day that he'd seen signs that Rangers were just going to sort of whip balls into the box, and they were just going to have big men in the middle to mop up. A bit of a different test tomorrow for Livingston, Lewis.
Like the banner says there, one of the biggest things I took away from the Servette game and the Kilmarnock game, for that fact, is this team's inability to unlock that low block. It's not an uncommon problem for bigger teams. I'm a Man United fan as well as Rangers, and I remember a couple of seasons ago they were very, very famed for giving the big dogs a good game, but struggling against lower opposition. And I think that must be Michael Beale's number one tactical piece of work to focus on with these players, because this is your bread and butter. This is 90% of the opposition that we come up against is going to be this low block, and it needs to be perfect tactics for us to get as much as possible at a points tally for this league table, because other than Celtic, this is what we're going to face. And I think there's players in this team that are capable of doing that. Lammers, I think, is the key man. He's had a couple of turbulent appearances in the competitive matches, but in pre-season we've seen what he's capable of. He's got that dribbling ability, which is vital, because I think you lose somebody like Ryan Kent, you do lack a bit of drive in that front line. Like Zach Cantwell has good feet, but he's not going to take it and run with pace at somebody. So somebody like Lammers, and maybe somebody like Hadji as well, with that passing ability, if the game doesn't go our way, I think Michael Beale needs to start being a bit more proactive as a manager rather than reactive, and make decisions when it's needed before it's too late, like it was against Kilmarnock.
But listen, Mark, the manager, did say today he sort of influenced the fact around substitutes and how important they could be with the injury time getting longer and longer and the matches coming quite thick and fast. Is that something that we need to, as Lewis says, capitalise on and maybe get a couple of goals up so we can utilise the bench more?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we spoke about this as well. We need to start early. An early goal will settle the nerves. Not sure these new players know how to react when it starts getting a bit kind of tetchy and a bit nervous and stuff like that. So and that'll come. But yeah, I think an early couple of goals, and you can give the likes of Hadji and stuff, even Roof. A lot of people talking about Roof. Maybe give them a wee run, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour as well, just to get some minutes into their legs. So I think that's important, because I think that we need to get everybody up to par straight away, or as quick as we possibly can. So I think that's going to. I mean, we spoke about it the other night there, that before the game we said that would be important and be able to inject a bit of impetus with using substitutes, and actually the opposite effect the other night in Europe. So. But for me, yeah, I think we need a fast start. We need to get the crowd behind us and take our chances. I think probably that was the major problem through the week there. So I think you need to take your chances, and hopefully, as I said, hopefully Dessers getting a goal is going to kind of give him a wee bit more confidence, and you might see a wee bit better performance from him as well. So I think, well, you know yourself, I mean, we're all desperate for the likes of Lammers, Dessers, and especially Danilo to get goals or get a goal, got off a mark anyway, some of these boys. So we're all desperate for that. So let's hope that happens. And then we've got the luxury of resting people and taking people off, saving legs for midweek.
Listen, I'm confident Danny's going to get off the mark tomorrow, because I think the longer it goes on, obviously the more difficult it could be for them, playing in front of 50,000 and trying to get that monk off the back. Delighted Dessers got his goal, but as Lewis said, and you said as well, maybe just doesn't look match sharp. Brian, I'll come to you. Obviously, the banner before was obviously around can we break a low block. Now, I think the tempo is key here. You saw on Wednesday night, how quickly they moved early doors. The tempo was great first 20 minutes. Now, if you can maybe get another 30 minutes or even 45 minutes at that pace, you shouldn't have any bother really dispatching Livingston. You're on mute, Brian.
I think as we said this morning, if we're starting to worry about playing Livingston home, then we're in serious bother. We should be with all due respect to Livingston, we should be dispatching them quite comfortably at home.
Hold that thought, Brian. Hold that thought. We've got our first caller of the night.
Excellent.
Porter is waiting in the wings. Porter, how are we doing?
All right, boys, how you doing?
Superb. Yeah, thanks for calling. What's your point tonight?
Just to make a point, mate. I was at the game the other night here. I thought it was a big improvement, mate. So obviously, it couldn't have got any worse, mate, to tomorrow. But I did think it was a lot better, mate. We started pretty good, mate. I'm not a big fan of Barry, mate, but I thought he had a pretty good game. Honestly, it's the first time I've actually sat and went, you know what, mate? Fair dues, good balls in the box, good running. So I can get behind that, mate. It was just about Dessers, mate. I heard one of you make the point before I phoned. I was listening, obviously, that he's still trying to get up to speed, mate. And you can tell that, but it's fine. When I watched the Hoffenheim game, I don't know if it was on Rangers TV or whatever, but he said that at the end of last season with that Italian team, he had an injury. So I don't think he was playing a lot, and he said he was a few weeks behind, obviously, with the team this season. So that's probably shown me. But obviously he's got that goal, which is, it must be a boost. I mean, it's a boost for me as a fan watching him. And obviously, I don't know if it was Lewis or whoever said it, that he probably needs a wee week or two out just to obviously help him, which I was actually going to say that, mate, so I agree with that, mate. So that it's a bit encouraging, mate. I don't know who said it, but he is the first striker to score a goal for us competitively, so that's good. And the boy Cifuentes, mate, he's one of the players, mate. I've been quite excited about. Obviously, I've only seen clips of him, mate. I don't follow MLS football, but in watching clips, I thought when he came on, mate, he looked pretty good. He looks like he can get about the park pretty good. And what I liked about him was he was getting in the box. Mate, even though he never really had a chance, but he was getting in the box. And Cantwell, mate, you can say I'm a bit of a fanboy here, mate, but you know what I like about Cantwell, boys? Even when he's not having a good game, he puts tackles in, he runs about, he wants the ball. I mean, I can get behind any player like that for Rangers, mate, whether he's having a good game or a bad game, mate. And I just hope now, Livy and Amora, the low blocks have always been our struggle, mate. I mean, it's always been a struggle the last few seasons, you know what I mean? We seem, even we've got on the ball, we'll have chances, but the more we need to get a good result, a 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, get a good result, just build that confidence up each week. That's what we can do. And listen, you know what, I'm going to the game, the same as you boys, we'll get behind the team, we'll get behind them, but these something to get behind, these are results. You know what I mean? I'm happy with a 2-0. Just build that confidence up. Obviously, you can't see me, boys, because I'm on the phone, but I've got a ball to hit, man, for the last 3 years, man. And my hair's all went, mate. I can't go another season, mate, watching Celtic win another trophy, mate, and us winning nothing, mate. Because see if that happens, my eyebrows are falling out. So what do you think of that, boys?
Listen, Porter, you make some great points, and I'm going to be a bit grey as well here. Blues, I'll come to you first. Borna Barisic.
At least you'll get help, mate. I need a win.
Blues, Borna Barisic, I think, you know, it's as good as he's played in a very long time the other night.
I think that was vintage, Borna Barisic on Wednesday there. I think it just goes to show you when he's got a bit of freedom and he's not targeted, that he is a very good outlet for Rangers. You know, that the second assist, was pinpoint. It was absolutely perfect, and he was doing it all game. And like I said about Dessers, he's fitter. You know, he's got a hat trick that game probably for the service he's getting for Borna. Now, listen, I don't think this is conducive to him starting. I still think Ridvan is probably the preferred option in there, but he's not done himself any harm. And and repairing a bit of his reputation, because I think he had a brilliant game. And that's the thing with Borna. If he's got a bit of freedom, he'll have a good game. You know, I think he, like the second leg against Braga, for example, and the Europa League run, he was outstanding as well. So it's just about tactics and formations, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be the same team every week. You can pull a player in for a game specific, and I think that's where Borna's role will lie, because I don't think he'll be first choice, but it was a very, very good performance.
And Mark, Todd Cantwell, listen, we've waxed lyrical about him for a long time on this podcast. Started really well the other night. I thought he had a really good 20 minutes. How important is he going to be again tomorrow should he get the start?
Massively. I think just looking at Todd Cantwell, well, probably for me and Brian, he's a little bit of a throwback, isn't he, Brian? He's one of these players that kind of, you don't look, if you watch him, you don't actually know what position he plays. It's almost like one of these players. See, years ago when you had a really good player, a really technical player, a really gifted player, you never really said, right, you need to play this position. You just said, you just go and play. We'll cover you. You just go and do what you do. And he's very much one of these players. He wants, and I love the fact that he always wants the ball. He's always moving. He's always demanding the ball, and he's always looking to make things happen. It doesn't hide. And for me, that's massive, absolutely massive, especially with a player with that kind of technical ability. I think he's going to be a massive player this year. I think that I can see, and I know probably this is going to get cut and it's going to be a bit outlandish, but I can see him going for serious money at the end of the season. I really can. I think that it was well thought of before he came to us, and he kind of fell away a wee bit. He kind of lost his way. But when you watch him, as I said, is reminiscent of like, I'm not going to say he's as good as these two, but that kind of Laudrup type player, or that kind of Gaza type player, that kind of player that's got technical ability and is gifted, that you say, just you go and do you just go and play, go wherever you want to go, and we'll cover you. So yeah, I think he's going to be massive, but I think he's a fantastic player. I really think this guy's head and shoulders above. He's definitely 2 or 3 yards ahead of everybody else in the park.
Brian, I could see you ready to jump in there. Do you have something to say?
I'm just laughing at Mark saying that Cantwell won't be here, and I've seen Heather saying that the team should be built around him. You're just trying to upset Heather now, Mark, aren't you?
He was going to upset Porter. Porter said he was a fanboy. Porter, how would you feel if Cantwell was to leave in the summer for big money?
Oh, mate, I'd be gutted, mate, but obviously it means he's done good for us, mate, and it means we're getting good money to reinvest into it.
I think he's went through a tunnel. Still there, Porter? No, I think we've lost him, Brian. I'll come to you. Porter was very, very positive, wasn't he? We had a great rallying cry at the end there, and about turning up tomorrow and getting behind the boys, getting behind the new players, and that's what we want, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean,
trying to get the right system.
Oh, he's still here.
And it's just about trying to get the right system, mate, and obviously get them playing well. But I think Raskin, mate, he always wants the ball. Cantwell always wants the ball, mate. They've got the right kind of attitudes, mate. It's just trying to blend, you know what I mean? And I think they've got a good team there, mate. It's just trying to get the confidence there. And what I like about Raskin, mate, he wants the ball. He'll drive forward, mate, I know, but when he drives forward, he's no greedy and like he'll try and hold on to you too long, mate. He won't release it. That's what he wants to do. He wants to get to other players. Against Kilmarnock, you've seen it, mate. He was getting the ball and driving forward. He was losing it a lot, mate, but it wasn't that he was being greedy, mate. It's just a new bit of pass to him. You could see him getting a bit frustrated, but mate, I'll be at the game tomorrow, mate. I'll be getting right behind the team, mate, and our season started on Wednesday, mate, and I just hope we don't look back now. I hope we don't like 2-1, mate. It could have been better, but our season starts now, mate. Tomorrow we're back a result, and then we hopefully kick on, you know what I mean?
Listen, Porter, thanks for your call. Brilliant. Call back again. See you at the game tomorrow. Say hello as well. All right, all the best.
We will, boys. All the best.
Cheers, Porter.
Brian, I'll come back to you. Obviously, Porter came back in, just saying obviously about the positivity, and it is something that we need to buy into, because I don't know if you saw Wednesday night's reaction. Of course you did, actually. Of course you did. There was just a lot of negativity flying about in the comments, so it's nice to get that positivity and feel that lift on the EVA game.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to remember this is probably our biggest rebuild since sort of the Advocat era. When Advocat came in, he signed countless players, and he basically cobbled together a team. We lost away to Hearts in the first game of the season, and then we all know what happened that season. But I appreciate that, it's a different time, 20 years later, but we have to show a degree of, patience in this. We're not going to see instant results and instant success straight away. For a team to gel takes a few games. All right, you can do all you want in pre-season, you can have all the games you want, but at the end of the day, when the competitive season starts, that's when it matters. Ideally, I wouldn't like to have been away to Killie on that pitch, but that's where we were. We've just got to slow down. Okay, I was there at Kilmarnock, I seen it, it was awful, but we've just got to slow down and see what the manager's trying to do, see how the players. I mean, we've seen the first half hour against Servette. It was absolutely tremendous. Nobody was complaining that first half hour. I appreciate you can't do that for an entire 90 minutes, but you can start to see signs that the team's starting to understand where everybody is, what they're trying to do. And I think we've just got to cool the jets and, not get, because let's be honest, if you get on top of the players' backs, that's not helping them at all. So let's just get behind them.
Guys that are trying to settle and score goals. Like, I think Danilo the other night, maybe when he sort of fluffed a couple of chances, you could hear a couple of groans in. I think it got to him. I do think it got to him mentally.
I think Danilo was just trying a bit too hard, to be quite honest. If you haven't watched it, the Burnley sort of documentary has just come out. Vincent Kompany was very much sort of play, relax, do what you can do, don't stress or don't panic, and I think that's almost what we've got to do here. Let the guys do what we know they can do, and just let them play.
So listen, lines are open, 01416287237. Plenty to talk about. We'd love to have your call. Phone in now, you could be on next. Mark, I know I'm harping on here about tempo, but as Brian says, the signs are there. Let's forget Rugby Park if we can. Park that. Wednesday night, first 20 minutes. That's what we want to see the Rangers team playing like. We need to try and get that for a longer period of time, surely.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just wanting to know what's happening. There's all sorts of sense getting spoken on this pod tonight. What is going on, man? That's just 2 pods in a row. I've had my mind blown. One was madness. Now everybody's talking sense. There's callers phoning in talking sense. People are talking about patience. I mean, what is going on here, man? Somebody's messing with me. What is going on? My mind's blown again. No, seriously. Yeah, I think that kind of opening 25 minutes is probably where we want to be. I think as we progress, as we get to know each other, as we play as a team more, I think that tempo is hopefully where Bill wants to be for 90 minutes, 95 minutes, or 105 minutes, as the case may be now, because that's just the way we're heading. But I think that's exactly where he wants to go. That's that kind of higher tempo, the kind of passing, moving that we're looking for. And I said it the other night as well. Rome wasn't built in a day, but for me, I seen progress, and Brian's just talked some sense there as well, talking about progress. And I seen Lewis nodding, and it's just thrown me for a 6.
Aldo's spot on there, isn't he? Lewis, it's a balancing act, doing it, a fine balancing act actually the manager's got, because he's trying to obviously implement a style of play, he's trying to integrate new players, he's trying to keep the squad fresh because we've got games coming thick and fast. I mean, what do you do tomorrow? Do you prioritise performance over the result, or how do you make it work?
Well, I know everybody involved will say take a game at a time, but they'd be lying to themselves if they didn't have an eye on the game next Wednesday as well as tomorrow. So it's a difficult one, because I think we should be good enough to play our B team and beat a side like Livingston, but we're in a transition period, so maybe we aren't, because there's not enough cohesion in the team. I think the Servette performance showed that in abundance, that there's signs there that if this team gels in enough time, we've got a very, very good outfit that could win trophies this year. But it's you don't get the time at Rangers. That's the bad thing about it. it's one of the best jobs in football to have, but also probably one of the most difficult, because time just is not on your side for if you're Michael Beale. Now, I think Dessers is, I know Mark said that, I get it, you keep a striker playing and hopefully that he'll just get fit by playing matches, and if he keeps scoring, then that's his form going through the roof and he turns into the striker we think he's going to be. But I think we can afford to give him a rest. I think Ryan Jack has been afforded a rest as well, because he will start the game next Wednesday. Don't make too many changes, but I think definitely 2 or 3 maximum. And it looks like we are going to make about that many changes. I think we can afford that, no bother.
Listen, if I had to pick a front 3 tonight, I do think Yanis Hadji's going to be in there somehow, at the expense of one of the other 2, or sort of one of the other 3, and I think it could be Dessers Lewis, but that's just my opinion. Brian, do you see a place for Kemar Roofe from the start? There's been a lot of talk about Kemar Roofe over the last couple of days. People sort of saying that he's got more to offer than just sort of coming off the bench. Is this a game you'd start him in? You're on mute again, Brian. That's your second more than full strike.
Sorry. No, I don't see him starting at all. I mean, Dessers just scored. Danilo was a 6 million signing. Can't see him getting ahead of either of those 2. It's the problem. We all know the problem with Roofe. He'll make a subs appearance and then he'll be missing for 2 or 3 games because he's got another issue. You know, he's just not reliable, and that's been his whole problem. And as countless people have said in this before, if he was match fit every time and played 38 games or whatever, he wouldn't be at Rangers. He'd be, Premier League in England. And that's the whole problem with Roofe. He's not reliable. The semi-final against Aberdeen last year, he came on, and after 15 minutes he was off again. He's just not what we need. I mean, we've had enough problems with injuries. We don't need more. And unfortunately for Roofe, he is just one of those guys that just, for some reason or another, just can't seem to stay fit. It's unfortunate because, as we all know, he is the best finisher at the club, but he just can't stay fit.
Brian, you're the good luck charm. Every time you talk, we get a call. So before we go to that, Des Mason, £10 super sticker. Thank you very much for your support, mate.
Good old Des for us.
It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's brilliant. So fantastic. Connor is on the line. Connor, welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast. Friday night phone-in. The floor is yours, my friend.
How you doing, guys? Well, listen, funnily enough, Kemar Roofe was one of the things I was wanting to talk about. What being spoken about there. I think I'd like to see Kemar Roofe starting tomorrow, purely because he's not in the European squad. Now, there has to be a reason behind that. For me, that reason is the thinking must be keep him wrapped in cotton wool for the domestic stuff, and take that pressure off of him, because he's definitely one of the most experienced players on the European stages. He's had a number of appearances and goals under his belt there, so I don't see any reason not to give him the nod. Look, I know he's obviously got the injury problems, but at some point you either have to say, right, we're going to give him the chance, he can get the start, or we're going to sell him, because you can't just keep him to play him for 5-10 minutes, every other week or whatever, while you're kind of, try to chop and change it. Because we've seen that at Kilmarnock. He came on with 7 minutes to go, and he couldn't really do much because he's not got time then to impact the game. And I think Dessers, having played the last 2 games in a row, I assume he'll probably start again on Tuesday night against Servette. Why not give him, that time in the bench? Rest him. If you need to bring him on, if there's a problem with Kemar Roofe, see where he is at half time or whatever, or after an hour, then so be it. But I just think it's got to be worth the risk at some point. Otherwise, what's the point in keeping him in the wage bill? I mean, he's a proven finisher, and that's the one thing that, despite the injury problems with Dessers right now and Lammers, that's something they've still got to prove. Not just with coming here, but even with the stats, as has been previously spoke about, they've got in previous, seasons at other clubs, hasn't been great for them over the last couple of years. So I'd stick him in and give him a go. I'd probably also be looking to see if we can start Cifuentes tomorrow as well, because you're only going to gel the team if we can get minutes into folks' legs, and because he's going to have to tinker to find his best 11. Now, I don't mind that because of the rebuild, so long as we get the results, because that's the most important thing. If we win a game 1-0 or you win it 10-0, you still get 3 points at the end of the day. And that's, I think we'd all agree that's just an absolute must.
Absolutely not, Connor. I think the manager sort of hinted today that Cifuentes will start. But Kemar Roofe, Mark, Connor, they're saying if we're not going to use him, sell him. But really, there's nobody going to buy him, right? He is going to be around for the season.
That's exactly my thoughts when he said it, hence the reason why I lifted my finger. I think Roofe's a great player. I think he's an absolutely smashing player. Wax lyrical about the boy. I think the boy is very, very good. The problem is he's made of chocolate. And the problem is, I don't think at this point in time, I don't think you could give him away. And which is sad, really sad, because he's a player. And I take everything that Connor said on board. I agree with a lot of it. But for me, Roofe is his injuries and had so many problems. I think that just they've gave up on him, to be perfectly honest. Hence the reason why I think he's going to be a bit part player. If he can stay fit for the next month and a half, I think you'll see him getting more game time. As it stands at the minute, I don't think anybody's going to think about starting Roofe because they don't know if he's going to last 90 minutes. It's as simple as that. And as I said there, I don't think you can sell him. I don't think you can give him away at the moment, which is sad, really sad, because he's a fantastic player.
Connor, you mentioned obviously Michael Beale's going to have to tinker as he tries to find his best starting 11. You mentioned obviously starting Kemar Roofe. So who have you got playing alongside Roofe in attack tomorrow against Livingston?
Probably Danilo, maybe. Give him the nod again because he did look good, I thought, the other night. I mean, I think clearly his end product needs to be sharpened up a bit, but that'll come. It's his first game and he made some slack passes, but when he did get the ball, a bit like when Campbell was getting on it, he looked like he was going to go and do something. And I like that. I like a player that just looks a threat straight away, because if he can build and get that last touch right, he'll score you goals and he'll do the business, and that's ultimately what you need. I mean, because he is, as I said, he does need to tinker. Even defensively, the more, do you give Balogun a start? Do you look to the game on Tuesday night and think, right, can Suter maybe come out and be rested for a game to give Balogun some minutes in his legs? It's a tough call. I do think, given how early we made some of the signings and we knew they were coming in, I think maybe there could have been a bit better work behind the scenes to try and sort of work it out throughout pre-season and stuff, because he did have 4 games in pre-season and they were a mixed bag, to say the least. So he didn't come in completely cold this week for the 2 games where that's concerned. But as I say, if we get the result, I'm happy because the performances are obviously, they'll come. And I think if we're sitting here in a month's time, having got through the Champions League ties and won the Derby game, I think we'd all be quite happy with it.
Let me put your point about the defence to Lewis. Interesting, obviously, to say that Balogun might be used tomorrow. Personally, for me, I would be swapping out Connor Goldson because obviously he looks a bit behind in terms of fitness. Would you swap out John Suter? He looked the better of the two the other night.
I thought both of them were outstanding. I think I don't know if we were watching the same game, but I actually thought that was one of the best performances I've seen since Goldson and Hollander's partnership. I thought they were both so good on the ball. I mean, John Suter, he's like 6'4" and he turns into Messi at times. It's crazy. He took about 3 of their players out in the second goal and just slid it right into Barisic to cross it in. He stays fit. I mean, he's the country's best centre-back as well, in my opinion. Never mind just here at Rangers. And Connor Goldson is obviously CB number 1 when he's at his best. And despite his lack of fitness, I thought both of them looked very, very good, very, very comfortable on the ball, like I said, and almost looked like it's impossible to beat them. I think a couple of times Goldson maybe get beat for pace, but he recovered well. I wouldn't withdraw many of them if there wasn't any reason to be honest. I think that's your partnership going forward for me out of the selection we've got anyway.
Brilliant. Connor, thanks very much for your call tonight, mate. Call again as always. It's nice to have you on.
Right, superb lads. Cheers.
All right, all the best. Cheers. Brian, back to you. I know we'll probably get another call because we're back to you. This seems to be the way that it's going tonight. Just a wee deviation here, because it's something that popped up in the chat earlier. Manchester United linked with Robbie McCrory. Talk to me about that. Come on.
So much for wanting first team football there. Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as a starter, to be quite honest. He's wanting first team football. The last place he's going to be going to is Old Trafford, let's be honest. They've just signed 50 million odd for Onana, so he's not displacing him and getting first team football. No, it's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous link as far as I'm concerned.
But it's come from a good source, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's wanting to play first team football. So why is he going to go to Man United? I just don't get it. I'm certainly not saying that he's not good, but I mean, he's not Man United good. Let's be honest. No, I would say it's very difficult for Robbie McCrory just now because he's obviously stated he's wanting first team football, but options are limited now. You know, Scotland. Where does he go in Scotland? Hearts are stacked with goalies. You know, Aberdeen have got goalies. You know, it's very difficult. I mean, it's almost going to be sort of like Championship in England, the sort of level that he's going to have to go to. I mean, do you see him starting in the Premier League for anybody in England? I don't.
No, listen, I've always been, you know, quite happy when he's played for Rangers.
Yeah.
I know he's played a lot of games for Rangers, but as you say, it's a difficult one for a goalkeeper because you go and you're number one and there's no really much chance for chopping and change. I don't like this whole, he gets the cups and all that carry on. I hate it. It's very Football Manager. But I was kind of hoping he'd stay and fight, but it does look like Michael Beale is giving the jersey to Butland from the off. So it's a difficult one for him. I dare say he'll probably be out the door before Glenn Kamara, though, because that's a saga that keeps dragging on and on.
Yeah, but I think the whole problem with McCrory was that McLaughlin signed a new deal. I was fully expecting McLaughlin to leave, but as soon as he signed a new deal, that kind of threw the spanner in the works for McCrory. Kind of effectively ended any chance of him even trying to establish himself as number one. So, goalkeepers. The problem with goalkeepers is they're very much a unique position where only one guy can play. It's not like, as you say, you can chop and change and get away with it. You need your goalie to be playing pretty much every week and a bit of continuity. And unfortunately, as I say, with the McLaughlin signing the new deal, it's kind of kiboshed McCrory ever getting that. So, and the worst thing about it is he's never really let us down. So, you know, that's the sorry part of it as well.
I'm starting to wonder if it's our very own Scott Kerr facilitating this move. I'll stay tight-lipped on that, but you know what he's like. He loves Man United, doesn't he? Mark, could this be one of these weekends where Rangers get a result and then the other half have to go to a difficult venue and the pressure's on them?
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope that's the case. I don't know. I think that we need to worry about us. I think that's the most important thing. I think what we do and how we play is where we need to be. Our head needs to be at. So, to be fair, it doesn't matter when, where, or how, or what season, or what time of the year. I don't even think about them. They're irrelevant unless we're playing them. So, for me, we need to concentrate on us. We need to concentrate on a good performance tomorrow. We need to concentrate and hit the ground running, straight for the off. So, who cares? As I said, I know that they're maybe get a tricky one, but hey, we'll see what happens. But it never really works that way, does it?
Why did I come to Mark and no expect a staunch answer there? Like, do you know what I mean? Anything but staunch was never coming there, was it? Lewis, it's hard for the manager because he's got to have full focus on this game on Saturday, but will he have one eye on Tuesday night with his selection and maybe his changes in game?
I said in my last point, I think that's almost confirmed the fact that Ryan Jack probably isn't going to play and Cifuentes is in his place. I think Jacko had a much better performance. You know, he did start to worry us a wee bit in pre-season. You know, we were thinking, is it maybe the end slightly for Jack to be playing a big part? But nah, he slotted right back into that role perfectly, and he was probably one of the better performers against Servette. So I think he is rested, given the surface. and his previous with that type of surface, I think that has confirmed that Beale is comfortable enough with making some changes. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said in the comments that we need to keep playing our best team, and I get that, and most of the time that is a true point, but a slight on Rangers last season was maybe that starting 11 wise we were competitive with the other side, but when it came to squad depth we were nowhere near it. Well, now we have the squad depth, you need to trust them. You don't bring these guys in just to sit on the bench and watch the rest of the guys play and never give them a chance. You need to trust them at some point. And Cifuentes has came here with a big reputation, so give them a chance to prove it. You never know, Ranjak might not get back into the team because of that. So I think it definitely some changes coming, and I'm excited to see how the new players perform.
Listen, I'm going to stick with you, Lewis. You say something interesting there. You say about squad depth in the news today that Scott Wright looks like he's going to stay at Ibrox. He was off to Preston, then he was off to Turkey, and now it looks like he's going to be utilised in the squad and a team that doesn't look like it's going to have a lot of width in it. What do you think happened?
It's a strange one with Scott Wright. I mean, I think that's 3 moves now that have fell away at the last hurdle. So I don't know if it's something on his end that he's not pushing it through, but he's no good enough for Rangers. I think on the ball he's got fantastic dribbling ability. Honestly, he's so good at weaving in and out of players, but that's about it. He's got nothing else to his game. He would be about 9th choice attacking midfielder at Rangers this season, and that's just no fair to let a lad sit on the bench and maybe makes 5 appearances all year. And if he makes more than that, then it's a mistake because he shouldn't be. There's hardly anybody. Alex Lowry, if he was here, would still be starting games ahead of Scott Wright, in my opinion. So if he's not going to move permanently, I would look to get that boy a loan move and get him playing some football, because he's definitely not going to get it here.
Listen, I think it is one that maybe could rumble on late into the window. We've had Todd Cantwell's fanboy on tonight. Maybe we can get Scott Wright's fanboy on as well. 0141 628 7237. Still plenty of time left to get on and make your point. You call now, you could be speaking to us next. Mark, Lewis makes a point there about Scott Wright maybe just being down the pecking order, but he came onto the field of play the other night, so that the manager clearly is using him.
Short window, maybe.
Are you hoping?
Well, like I said, there is he's more comebacks than Elton John. I can't see the boy getting any game time really. I think, look, if we were willing to let him go, what does that say to you? I mean, we bundled him on a flight to bloody Turkey. You know what I mean? Right, wee man. We'll see that. Right, but it's been great. No, brilliant. Away you go. So. For me, it's not exactly, I feel loved here, and do you know what I mean? I'm in the manager's thoughts. So for me, stuck him on, give him a couple of minutes, stretch his legs. Maybe give us something different. I was hoping to give us something different, wee bit pace possibly, but I think the wee man is good. He's a good player, but he's no good for Rangers. I think Lewis hit the nail on the head there. I don't think he's, as they say, Rangers class. And look, the wee man's gave us 110% every time he's come on, so I'm not wanting to bash him too much, but I think that it's thanks, just small margins, and I don't think he was ever going to be good enough. As I said, I think technically he's no got it. I think positional and I think his decision making, I think probably what lets him down. But no, as I said, thanks, but no thanks. I think the wee man's just sitting there till he gets till somebody comes in for him.
Brian, I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate here, because I've spoken previous shows about guys on the bench that are probably better starters than they are impact players. I think Scott Wright's one of the few that is actually really good at making an impact off the bench.
Yeah, there's countless games you could quote that Wright has started and he's been pretty non-eventful. Yet he comes on off the bench and he instantly makes an impact. I mean, I still think, like him or lump him, I still think he's got a role to play in the SPFL. If Scott Wright, if we can't get a tune out of Scott Wright in the Scottish football, then he really is not very good. Albeit he's maybe not that sort of that level, maybe in Europe. We never played Chris Boyd in Europe or against Celtic, but we used him against the rest of the cannon fodder in Europe, Scotland, and it worked. So is it a case of that we use him in the SPL and not Europe or against Celtic? I don't know. He scored a goal in the cup final against Hearts. You know, made the layoff in the European semi-final. But you know, he's a handy player, and it's almost as though it's the typical bipolar Rangers fan. We've made up our minds, and that is it. Simple as that. He's not good enough. I mean, there's folk. I mean, the only one that I would say that's really on the fence. Well, I'm really doubtful about just now is Sima. He's the one that I'm really not very positive about just now. Every time I've seen him, I just feel he's Sakala Mark II. And apart from that, I mean, everybody else is looking, or I've seen signs from everybody else that there's something in them. But Seema's the only one that worries me. But Scott Wright, I think he'd still do a job for us in the SPL.
Listen, if you had a gun to my head now and said you can keep Wright or Matondo, I'm keeping Wright all day long. So
100%.
I just think he's worth hanging about if you can't shift him on. I'd rather focus on maybe getting Rabbe Matondo out the door. Lewis, just on Rabbe Matondo, the manager keeps mentioning him, but he never plays him, and it does my head in. A bugbear. He's mentioned him again today in the presser, and I just think, why are you trying to flog us this guy when you never actually use him?
I don't know. Michael Beale's the type of guy that he says a lot that never actually has any substance behind that. You know, Steven Gerrard, when he said something, he fucking meant it most of the time. Michael Beale doesn't really have that. Rabbe Matondo, like Scott Wright, there's absolutely no place for him in this squad. I think the difference with Rabbe in comparison to Scott is that I think there is value to be had with Rabbe Matondo. I think he's got enough of a reputation before Rangers that we could maybe break even, but the only way that's going to work is if we send him out on loan. That's the only viable option I think Rangers have with Rabbe Matondo this year, is get him out on loan, see if he can perform somewhere. You know, if he turns into a superstar, we bring him back and give him a chance. If he has a good season, we sell him. If he has a poor season, then we're at the same situation. But there's absolutely no reason to keep him here. The system doesn't suit him. Like Sima, as Brian says, I'm not 100% sold. I think there's time to wait to see what he's capable of, but he's also been left to hang it to dry a wee bit. You know, he's brought on against a 10-men low block, and his biggest asset is pace, and there's no space to use that. So what is Michael Beale actually going to use him first? I tell you right now, that boy's not a striker. I would rather Kamar Roof with no legs play up front than Sima, because he's just no got it. He's not got the technical ability. He's not got the finishing prowess or the instinct. He is a winger. That is what he is. If he's been profiled as a striker, it's a misprofile. And like I said, unless we change up formations on the spin, there's no space for any of these players. You need to have more technical ability, more passing ability, a bit of vision. Not going to work. So for all three of the players, I think it's a bit of a precarious position.
Brian, you're on mute. That's your third strike. That's you up the road.
Sima or Matondo, Lewis? Paul's asking.
Oh man, that's the lesser of two evils. That.
No, listen, I'm going to let you think about that, because I can see Mark looking very stony-faced about the criticism and negativity around Sima. Just before I come at you, Mark, listen, we're in the last 10 minutes of the show. We can try and squeeze one more in. There's got to be somebody out there that wants to come in and join this debate, because it's going to turn into, I can feel it, 01416287237. Mark, the floor is yours. Sima.
Like I've said pretty much in every pod, what a chance. And Lewis has hit the nail on the head there. The boy's been hung out to dry a bit. Pre-season, it was our only fit striker that could play number 9. So that's what happened. I don't think it was his fault. I think that he's came here as he plays as a second striker or as a winger or I mean, we don't really play with wingers, and I think that term winger now is a little bit defunct. I mean, gone are the days where a winger stood in the touchline and went to the byline. These days are gone now. So I don't even think you can call a winger anymore. They're more of a wide attacking player. But I think you need to give Seamer the benefit of doubt. played through the middle for, is it Augiers that was playing the last season? Played through the middle a few times with them. Played through the middle a couple of times with, a fair bit with Prague as well when he was over there. So I think he can. He's a big lad. He's a big lump. I think his hold up play is no bad. I think he's been kind of scattergunned into our side, and Rangers fans doing what Rangers fans do. All of a sudden, 2 games into the season, going, he's wrong. So, I mean, the beauty of it is that even if he is rotten, he's no our player. So I'm hoping that this boy comes onto a game. He might need a wee bit to settle, but as I said, let's give the boy a chance, man. As I said, we're writing him off. We're talking about Sakala Mark 2 and this and that. Boy's played 2 games.
Right, Mark, we're gonna finish with a bit of class because we've got Jim on the line waiting to call, waiting to speak to us. Jim, how we getting on?
I'm all right, Troops. How are you?
Smashing,
Yeah.
Delighted to be on, aye.
Been listening to the show intently tonight. It's good to see Marco and my old buddy. Just up the stair there, Mark looking at the goalpost I brought him for Pataudry, following that Terry Butcher goal. Remember those years ago? I don't know if you do, mate. But anyway, what I was thinking was, listening to the chat about Barisic, Wright, etc., Scott, Wright, Matondo. Plus, I never knew Lewis was a Man United fan, but I don't know if anybody brought that up. But anyway, what I was thinking was, I think they have the three of them got a future at Ibrox, but I think what they should be doing is probably replacing Broxy Bear and his family. Because I think if they did the wee tour round about the Govan stand and round about the Copeland end, I'm sure Barisic would lose him in the box if he was dressed as Broxy Bear. I think he would lose Mrs. Broxy in the box. I think you're talking about Barisic had a good game the other night. First of all, that's what he's paid for, right? He's paid for having a good game for this great club. I think he's only one podcast away for another disaster. I think people should look at the big picture. He can't defend Jurgen Tavernier. And my wee surprise for the team selection tomorrow is I think he's going to stick Balogun in. Because I think Big Golson looks as if he was struggling the last 20 minutes. I think he might put Balogun in and keep Golson for during the week. That's me. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to defend that. That's what I would do with Scott Wright, Barisic and Matondo. And again, sorry, I want one more point because you know who I'm probably going to bring up here. Lewis will know what I'm going to say, and I don't want to say Shankland, right, but I've just said it. I forgot to say that night. How much did Matondo cost?
3.5.
In comparison to how much Shankland would cost.
Aye. You're listening.
That's a question for the panel. I know I sound as if I'm related to him. I'm really no. I just like guys that put the ball in the net. That's
Jim
all.
Shankland, is it?
Well, Brian, it's a point well made, but we don't seem to be doing our shopping in Scotland.
No. I've said it for long enough. And Jim, I remember that game at Aberdeen. That was my first ever game. Mental.
I've got to apologise for that. I was first on the park, sorry.
Brilliant. I was only 9, so I wasn't allowed. But no, I've said a few times, like Jim's saying, we're snobby when it comes to signing players from Scotland. Oh, he's not good enough. Oh, they're not good enough. You know, we've said it umpteen times. Lewis Ferguson was never good enough. Hickey and Doig and all them. Oh, they weren't good enough, and they're tearing it up in Italy. You know, I mean,
another one.
I don't know what players have got to do to sort of convince Rangers that they're actually good enough for Rangers. They're playing in that league. You know, they're doing well. The amount of times that you say, "Oh, they don't know Scottish football," they've got to settle. Well, these guys don't have to settle. They're playing in that league. Get them in. We used to do it all the time in the 90s. Walter Smith was notorious for it.
I'll tell you, I was on earlier in the week saying this about Shankland as a day. I don't like talking about the same thing all the time because it's quite clear that it's not going to happen. But what my question was, it was after I hung up, and I was thinking, how much did we pay for guys like Matondo?
3.5 million.
What was that? What was it, 3 million or something?
3.5.
Do you know what I mean? You would better with my cat, where Rangers start going. So, like a Shankland, you would give him, say, for 2 million quid or something like a guy who scores goals. It's just, I just think I'm using a bit of common sense, that's all.
Mark,
plus, he would definitely meet the European requirements, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Jimmy, cut in there. Mark, just on Jim's point about Borna Barisic, just sort of saying that's what he's paid to do. Now, I get that wholeheartedly. However, Borna Barisic has said the form's been really poor for as long as we can remember. Is it not right that we do sort of give him that confidence after a good display?
Yeah, I know, but I 100% agree. He played all right. He played all right there the other night. There, I think he done well. But I'm 100% agree there with what Jim said there. This whole I don't think it's as if it's a confidence thing. See this 1-on-1. I think it terrifies him. Absolutely terrifies him. And he's defending at the back post. I mean, we slag Tavernier about his defending at the back post, but how many goals last season did we lose because Borna Barisic is I don't know what he's doing. He's looking for spaceships or something. He's just looking at the sky and looking at balls, and everybody just goes in at the back of him and scores goals. Now it became a thing probably at the end of towards the end of the season where we just ping diagonals towards Barisic. Just keep, and for me, that's why I prefer Yilmaz over Barisic every day of the week, because Yilmaz will go and make a winger make a decision. Barisic will stand off him, and it gets to the stage where it's almost like hurry up and do something, hurry up and run past me. So for me, he needs to either go and engage and make him make a decision, or he decides I'm going to show him down the line. It doesn't do any of that. So yeah, for me, I'm not a big fan at all. He's great crossing the ball, but it doesn't. Years ago, a few years ago, he used to get to the byline all the time and cut it back with a decent ball, and it was dangerous. He doesn't do that anymore. He does this. It's like a Beckham thing now, where he just takes a touch, gets a half yard, and flings a ball in. He just flings a ball in and flings a ball in. For me, the old Barisic got to the byline and flung a ball in and made defenders turn, and it was dangerous. And he's not done that for probably 18 months to 2 years. So I agree that for me, I don't think he's trying to get behind him. I think is gone now. I think it's the days past.
No, that's what I was saying, Mark, because I think they actually might put Sterling at left back right at some point. I'm not talking about tomorrow. At some point, because they put Sterling at left, he wouldn't be the first person to play at left back. He's right footed. Let's be honest. It's quite seen in Europe, across Europe, or other places. You can see guys like that. I think Sterling. See a young boy. We've not seen the kid yet. I don't know if any of you guys have seen him in the flesh, so to speak. But I think that might happen in the future, because I think we play this other mob in September, because we'll be sitting top of the league by then, and then hopefully that'll be to put us 6 points ahead. I really think the likes of, well, Borna is probably made like Abada look a decent player. Do you know what I mean? Because I could mark Abada out of the game, right? Because he's the kind of guy, you open the gates and you just run into the subway. So if Borna, I think that you might see Sterling, unless they buy someone else, I think you might see Sterling playing at left back. I really mean that. And by the way, I hope so. But
Well,
Borna
Jim,
still there, remember, dressed as Broxy.
I'm saying, Jim, we had Adam Devine playing left back for a few games up at Pittodrie, for example.
No, and I like the boy, but I don't think he's physical enough.
I think that's a problem with a lot of
That's just my opinion. See these games you've got to win them. I want somebody like Sterling. See, likes me up against Abada. Put him out of the stand. Just put these guys out of the stand. That's what you do with these characters.
Love
no
that.
Respect.
Jim, as always, fantastic call. Don't be a stranger. Back on Monday.
Have a good night, guys. Right, but remember, you're only one pod away from having the whole show about Borna. I hope I'm wrong. Have a good night, guys.
Good night, Jim.
All the best, Jim.
Right then, lads. Jim's took us right over the finish line. Brilliant call as always from Jim. He's welcome back anytime. Listen, it's been great. Just before we go, just a quick prediction for you all for tomorrow. Mark, what's your feeling for full-time score?
I'm hoping Danilo, first goal scorer, is hopeful than anything. And I think maybe 3-1.
Brilliant. Brian?
I'm going to back Dessers after his debut goal. I'm going to go Dessers and 3-0.
And Lewis?
I'm going to go 2-0 and agree with Mark. I think Danilo will get the first goal.
Excellent. Right then, gents.
And yourself? You tried this the other night. You tried that the other night.
Listen, I'm coming up for the game, so I want to see plenty of goals. 5-0 Rangers. Tavernier penalty. Start us off again. That'll do me. But listen, absolute pleasure. If any of you see me at the game tomorrow, feel free to say hello. But thanks for joining us in the comments as always. And we'll see you again tomorrow for the build-up and the reaction as always. Thanks very much.